right.
We're good?
Recording in progress.
All right. Welcome back to the public session of the Township Committee meeting on this Tuesday, July 14th. Please rise for the flag salute. Okay. Hello, everyone. Greg, I'd like to open the first hearing of citizens. Would you please provide guidance?
Members of the public are now welcome to come up to the microphone to address the Township Committee. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearings tonight. Those present may step up to the microphone to be heard. If you're watching via Zoom, you may speak during the public comment sessions by following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Whether in person or online, when you're recognized to speak, please mind the following procedures. Please say your name, spell your last name, give the name of your street. You do not need to give your street number. All public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Rather than use any of your time answering questions, the Township Committee will wait until you finish speaking before responding. There are 2 public comment sessions on tonight's agenda. Each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment of up to 3 minutes during each public comment period. Written comments submitted to the Township Clerk before 3 p.m. today will be read during the public comment sessions. Written comments are subject to the same guidelines as oral comments. Duplicative written comments may be summarized rather than read in full according to the guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services. And Mayor, I did receive 1 written comment. This is from Megan Schaff of Garden Street. She says, Mr. LeConte, I'm unable to attend tonight's Township Committee meeting, but would like to voice my support for the resolution to approve funding for the construction improvements to be made to the Library of the Chathams. Thanks so much, Megan Schaff. That's my only written one.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone online with hands raised?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, and we can invite citizens up to the microphone.
Melissa Davis, D-A-V-I-S, Gleason, Lisa Drive, Chatham Township. First, I'd like to thank the Township Committee and the Environmental Commission for their dedication to preserving Chatham's beautiful tree canopy. I think everyone here shares the same goal, protecting one of our community's greatest assets. I'm not an arborist, I'm a pharmacist with a background in global pharmacovigilance, where my career focused on analyzing large amounts of real-world data to identify patterns that improve public safety. With the help of my son Devin, I'm applying that same data-driven approach to better understand Chatham's tree management ordinance through an anonymous community survey. We're asking questions such as which tree species are being removed, why are they being removed, what does Chatham's residential tree canopy actually look like, and are there opportunities to improve biodiversity? One example is the tulip tree. If our survey shows that tulip trees account for a large percentage of removals, that doesn't necessarily mean they're poor trees. They are magnificent native trees. It may simply mean they were planted on lots that are too small for a tree capable of reaching over 100 feet tall. That kind of information can help us refine planting recommendations rather than eliminate valuable native species. I'd also like the committee to consider the value of interior trees. I understand the ordinance emphasizes perimeter trees to preserve Chatham's tree-lined streets, and I support that goal. But healthy mature trees located elsewhere on a property still provide tremendous public benefits. They capture stormwater, sequester carbon, improve air quality, provide shade, support wildlife, reduce temperatures, and increase property values. A tree's environmental value is determined by the benefits it provides, not solely by its location on a property. I also believe it's time to review the large caliper replacement requirement. Many arborists recommend smaller native trees because they establish more successfully, expand species diversity, and are significantly more affordable for homeowners. Finally, I'd like to share a major concern. I'm worried about the ordinance's unintended consequences. I've spoken with homeowners who now view mature trees not simply as environmental assets, but as financial liabilities because of the significant replacement costs they may trigger. I'm also concerned that those costs may discourage some homeowners from removing trees that are genuinely hazardous or declining. A successful tree ordinance should inspire residents to plant and care for trees, not to make them fearful of the financial consequences of owning them. I respectfully ask the Chatham Township Committee to initiate a comprehensive review of the ordinance using current arboricultural science, community input, and objective data. I truly believe we can preserve Chatham's beautiful tree-lined streets while creating an ordinance that promotes biodiversity, recognizes the environmental value of healthy interior trees, and is practical for homeowners. Thank you for your time.
No, we probably can. Thank you, Ms. Gleason, we appreciate that. I believe that someone from the Environmental Commission may have reached out or responded to an email that you sent, but we will definitely circle back with you and get everyone together, because I know that's an active project that they're working on.
Oh, great. I know how emails and letters get lost sometimes.
Yeah.
I said, yes, I understand that emails and letters sometimes get lost, so that's why I'm bringing it up here. And I would also like to have data to actually collect to present something concrete. Thank you.
Appreciate that.
If I might, Mayor, if I could make a quick comment?
Absolutely.
I don't have to leave my own house to have this, what you gave to us, pretty clearly defined. And there's been a lot of background work by a number of people, including the Environmental Commission. This is really something that's been a long effort to try to get to solution, very specifically as you have categorized your sheet here. So thank you for recatalyzing the effort to hopefully move things forward.
Great.
Hi, I'm Christina Mott, and I live on Nicholson Drive in Chatham Township, and I'm honored to serve as trustee on the board for the Library of the Chathams since 2021. I would like to clarify that my comments are informed by my role in the library board, but are not meant to be an official request on behalf of the Board of Trustees. These are my personal comments. I'm asking you to please find a way to give strong financial support to the Library of the Chatham's capital campaign. I wanted to share some points that might not be obvious when people think about this project. The renovation project is rooted in the infrastructure challenges that have resulted from 6 additions in 100 years. Behind the walls, this isn't a unified building when we deal with HVAC units and their ducts, the electrical, plumbing, or other utility lines. That means repairs and upgrades cost more or require complicated workarounds. This isn't a request for a nice-to-have, pretty library. This is the request to help the library reconfigure the building to fix its HVAC problems, replace utility systems that are past their useful life, and make changes that will make future updates more cost-effective. 2, the cosmetic changes to the library would be the result of opening and taking down walls in order to redo wiring, pipes, and ductwork. They are silver lining, not the focus. The plan to complete the renovation in a single phase will help save money in the long run in 2 ways. First, construction costs for piecemeal renovation has inherent increased costs, such as potentially paying twice for a specific wall to be renovated appropriately during different phases of construction. Second, the overall project will escalate over time due to increasing construction and labor costs, as we've already seen. The estimates today are about 3 times more than they were when the library first asked for funding in about 2015. 3, we are one of very few joint municipal free libraries in the state. That means that our library budget encompasses normal library functions, as well as the functions municipalities usually take care of, such as building maintenance and infrastructure problems, union negotiations, and other functions people would normally think of as like HR functions. That means our library budget, which is usually kept at or close to the state mandated levels, needs to stretch further than it does for other libraries. The state mandates don't account for the financial responsibilities our library shoulders compared to the majority of libraries in the state. When you make decisions about providing for the library, I ask you to please keep that in mind. I probably am running low on time, so I just want to say that I admit what I'm asking for isn't exactly fair. I know that none of you were elected committee members when funding was withheld for the project, and at that time it was more financially in reach. It was $4.5 million 10 years ago. and now the figure is hovering near 12 million. The escalation in costs reflect the change in labor and construction costs, which rose dramatically over COVID and have jumped annually since. Without strong financial support from both municipalities, this project cannot be completed in one efficient phase. The rate of increase in costs mean the library will be perpetually trying to balance the needs of the residents, its failing infrastructure, and the disadvantages the organization faces when trying to hire and retain educated professionals to perform their library roles while balancing unusual tasks such as hauling dehumidifier water. I know that the request won't be taken lightly and the love for our library is strong. The financial realities may make what the library is asking impossible. As that each of you think about what you wished earlier committees had funded, and then ask that you make your best effort for the funding that we need now. Knowing the need doesn't go away, it just grows as time passes. Thank you, and sorry for going over time.
Thank you.
Megan Erb, ERB, Lafayette Avenue. My son Charlie and I are here to show our support for the library project. I also want to support the initiative for a review of the tree ordinance. And on a positive note, I just want to say we were so excited to see the installation of the sidewalk on Spring Street, finally, after more than 10 years, so good job.
Yes.
Hi, Maureen Kelly, Kelly, Mountain Avenue. The first thing I want to say is a big thank you to everybody here, especially our mayor, who just went through a very trying thing with this storm and people out of power. For once, I was kind of glad that we seem to have our power from the Long Hill station, which was a blessing this time. But I just see the damage all around, and I know that everybody has been the recipient of a lot of complaints. So I want to acknowledge that I know you worked very, very hard. I'm here in support of the library, naturally. I am coming to you in my role as the president of the Friends of the Library. So I spend a lot of time there. Doing a lot of mostly the book sale stuff, but other stuff that we do. And I can't reiterate Christina's whole idea that it makes more sense for this whole project to be funded and done all at once. The piecemeal thing is just going to cost so much more in the long run. So I want you, I know this will be given serious consideration, and I want you to do the best you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lori DiBiase, D-E, capital B, I-A-S-S-E. I live on River Road, and I'm here also to support the library. I do hope that you will give adequate and incredible consideration for the renovations of the library. The library is a true community center, and it always has been. My husband and I will celebrate our 45th anniversary at the end of the month, and we've always lived in Chatham, and we've always been strong supporters of the library. I'd like to say my children were raised at the library. They went to story time, they went to craft time. As they got older, that's the Center for Research, because you didn't have computers at home quite yet then. Right. And even now, it's still a community center. I'm retired. I can go to the library and see people. If I were to work from home, I could go to the library and see people. It really is a community center, as definitely exemplified when the library was open during the storm last week and a half, as a cooling center and as a charging station. On a day when they're closed. Staff came in, and actually the director volunteered to do that, which I thought was incredible. I would also like to say that the library is an equalizer in our community. In a way that I look at it, Chatham has become infinitely more diverse than it had been when we first got married and lived here. And the Chatham helps to equalize that diversity. If you want to learn how to cook what your neighbors are cooking, you can learn at the library. If you don't have a computer, you can go to the library and use the library's computer. If you want to have an outdoor party and you don't have a canopy, you can get one at the library. It's just an amazing resource. If you want to start a garden, you can not even pay anything and go get seeds from the library. It's just an amazing resource for people. It's 2026, however, and the library needs to live for another 100 years. So things that are not so strong now, as far as the facility goes, need to be stronger. Things need to change and need to evolve over time, and I hope that the library can stay a strong community center as it has been. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy 45th anniversary.
Hi, Mike Kelly, K-E-L-L-Y, Mountain Avenue. And I'm here also to speak in support of the Library Improvement Project. First, I wanted to say thank you for all the time and attention you all give to meeting the needs of the township with the township's limited resources. And both the Township Committee and the departments that I think did such a great job this past week with the storm. But I'm coming at the library support from my personal perspective as a trustee on the Historical Society, the Chatham Township Historical Society. And even though I was born and raised in town, I'm continually amazed at the history and the stories that are preserved in our township museum, the little red brick schoolhouse. But one aspect of the improvement project is to expand and improve the space for the historical collection at the library. And I think that it's hard to imagine a need for the township residents that surpasses the library in general, and specifically for the Historical Society to be able to share some of the books and maps and other resources that they have to be there for the use of people who use the library. So please take that into consideration, and I hope that you can see your way clear to support the library project as much as you can. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Andy Hollander, Hollandder, Fairmount Avenue. I am privileged to be the president of the Board of Trustees of the Library of the Chathams. Mayor Rowland and Deputy Mayor McHugh, and thank you, Deputy Mayor McHugh, for participating on the library board. It's very much appreciated. We've been talking about expenditures, and the library, of course, has made a request of the committee and also of the Borough Council. But I would like to speak for just a moment about savings, not just expenditures, but savings. What's the library's value? Well, you've heard from our residents, but let's talk about return on investment as well. Take this book, for example. It's a book by Bruce Chadwick, An Oral History of Gettysburg, The Tide Turns. Oh. So retail, this book goes for $32. And I encourage everybody to support their local bookseller and their local movie theater. But if you choose to come to the library because there's easy access, you can take out this book and you can save $32 that you otherwise would have spent. And if you take out another book just like it, well, that's a dinner for two. And if you take out a museum pass, that's dessert. So that's about $80 in savings, just right there. And all free if you're a card holder of the library. A board book for a toddler, children's books, $15. You'll know better than I. My kids are pretty much grown at this point, but they add up. And museum passes, $20. You can stream movies by Canopy from the comfort of your own home. Movie ticket costs about $15 these days. Children's programs, adult programs, magazines, newspapers, databases, all of these are free with a library card. We estimate an average of $190 per card holder per year in savings. That's $190 of savings. Family of four savings is about $750. So taken together, the Library of the Chathams has saved our residents about $3.9 million just over 2025. So let me be clear, support your local booksellers, support your local movie theaters. But when you choose the library, either in person or when you access it online, you have access to a wealth of resources that save real money. The library is our community center. It's also a strong return on investment that residents already benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I think part of this message is in my mayor's message, but I think I'm going to say it now because I think it's timely. So tonight, we are introducing an ordinance in support of the Library of the Chathams. Thank you to everyone who reached out to share your perspectives on the project, people who signed the petition, people that would stop me on the street to have a conversation about it. We are lucky to live in Chatham, and many of us are very fortunate to have homes, food, amenities such as internet, cable, Netflix. But there are people in our community and neighboring communities who may not have those things. And that is one of the reasons why the library is so important. It's called a third space, so it's a place that's outside of your home and your work where you can gather, and you can learn, and you can get access to media and the internet and just be. So I know I'm a huge supporter of the library. We all are. We've all had our families there. My mom was a member of the Chatham Women's Club, so every time I walk downstairs and I see the plaque, it reminds me of my mom. The only scholarship they had was named after my mom, so it really, it's special. Andy, we buy books in my house, but then we give them to the library for the sale, so we haul the bags. So there's no question that the library is incredibly important to all of us. And I know that this renovation has been a long time in the making. And in addition to the programming and the services, the library really needs upgrades to the infrastructure. So we had a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions. I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant, so I said, show me the numbers, let me look at the budget, let me look at the detail. And when we dug through it, the critical infrastructure upgrades are what need to be done first. And that's what we are committing to. And if you need help with demolition after last week's storm, I will happily grab a sledgehammer and come over there and just start taking out walls to take out some of the stress. But I said I'll grab a paintbrush and I'll paint when it comes to that time. I think there's members of the community that will jump in and help because this is a big expenditure and a big budget. The challenge is, I'm also on the finance committee, we have a lot of mouths to feed in the township. And it's really hard, and I have this personal experience because I have 5 children. You can't give one child a steak dinner and one child a Ritz cracker. So we have a lot of competing priorities in the township, and we are doing our absolute best to maintain safety, security, and balancing fiscal responsibility. There was a time where taxes were not raised. Some people think that's a flex, and that's great, and that's cool, but at the end of the day, if you work outside of the home and you don't get a raise at your job for 6 years, but all your costs are going up and you're digging into your savings, at some point, something's got to give. So we are very happy and pleased to commit $1.25 million in 2027 to the library for capital improvements. And that's what's in our resolution tonight. Trust me, I wish I could give everybody everything that they wanted. I would love to do a new police station and a shiny new fire truck and ambulances, everything. It's just not the reality this time when we had crazy increases in healthcare and just 2 wild storms that cost us a lot of money, and now we just had a third, and we're wondering if there's going to be FEMA reimbursement. So long story short, we're happy to contribute to the library as much as we can. This is for 2027, and I look forward to hearing more of your comments, your questions, and your support. Are there any other?
Might I comment,
Yes,
Mayor?
go ahead.
As well, I think, and not speaking for everybody, but certainly in consistent outlook with the mayor, a huge component to get this done, or at least get started done. And the commitment was made, or trying to make, the resolution that's introduced tonight, based upon a lot of talk over a lot of time and getting nowhere. And we need to start. And so looking at the balance with the family corollary, I like that one, very well put. We provide, the library put so much work together in just presenting the facts and presenting the issues and the budgets, where it was, where it is today. And certainly the crowd here, what we've heard from all kinds of voices and put together in the foundation and their work and getting this at least started. We had the presentation on the amount requested from each of the municipalities. That was clear, it was concise, it was very well presented. You know, kudos to the director, Ms. Brodsky, and of course Kevin Sullivan in their presentation, both to the borough and to the township. But the however is in fact the real numbers. We did make a commitment at that time during the presentation that the request was not just the amount of money, the request was for direction. And so tonight what we're trying to do is at least start a direction, because without some kind of a start of direction, there's no proceeding, and it'll be another 10 years before anything happens. And so between the municipalities to work things out, we've looked at, from the Finance Committee perspective, we looked at the balance of DPW, the police, the fire, all these other things that are demands, and the fact that we certainly, all of us, want to minimize tax impacts and raises and those kinds of things. So that number really generated from a lot of different factors. And so that's what we propose to get us started. And so thanks to Debbie King for giving us numbers and a lot of back and forth, and so she did a lot of great work. We looked at both the short-term impacts, at least to get going, and then the longer-term impacts of what we do. Where are we going to get the money if you don't have it? That means debt. What does debt do? When it increases, it creates more risk. What does more risk do? It creates more expense. So all of these things build upon each other, and so with an overall, 40,000-foot view, rather than the individual things, this is where we've come up with this, hopefully, aggressive start to get things going. It's not in 26, it has to start in 27. So here we are with this commitment, and this will be introduced tonight so that at least some planning can be done by the library, the foundation, and everybody else involved.
If I may join into the discussion. So originally, I had planned to pull this out of the consent agenda so we could have a discussion. But given everybody's here, and I think it's important while the residents are here, that we have the opportunity to talk about that. So I appreciate that. I echo the points that were already made. We haven't had a discussion, the five of us, to have a conversation about this. So that's the other reason, Marty being on the library liaison and also being on the finance committee, I had conversations with him to understand kind of the history of how do we get to this point and to understand like what exactly are we talking about. There was also the pressure, my understanding is, from the grant application to submit and to get, for some kind of commitment from the towns quickly, but knowing we have, just to put some numbers around it, $3.5 million going out the door already committed for fire trucks, and there's a couple more that the fire departments need. And this is not a nice to have, this is a need to have. You don't want to leave your fire department short. And we had pressure this year, a huge amount of pressure from healthcare costs that skyrocketed. I think it was like $750,000, $800,000 on about a $17 million budget. That's a huge amount of money. So, and that's just the beginning of it. So there's all kinds of financial pressure that we had to weigh in, but we all are big advocates and proponents for the library. So trying to figure out how do we lend our support, help you to move forward in that process with the grant. We still have the opportunity next year as we see how, what happens with the financials. There's opportunity down the road, but right now, I feel like this number is fiscally responsible, and this is the number I'm comfortable with right now. And I'm actually really pleased, because I didn't even think we were gonna get here, to be honest. I'm really pleased that, the Finance Committee, the CFO really kinda, crunched the numbers, went through the books. You have to project forward all your capital requirements over the next, 10 years and refine that, and when are those payments gonna need to be made, and what does the debt service look like? So I appreciate all the work that went into that, and I know it's not optimal, but hopefully it's a good place to start, and it supports you when you're going back to complete the documentation for that grant money.
Thank you.
I'll add a little bit of context as well, too. Not to reiterate all the points, but I appreciate the presentations, the materials, the petitions, all of the voices. And thanks to the Friends of the Library, you did a very effective job of flooding our inboxes with email. But the emails came in both support and against. And I actually took that as an opportunity to challenge whichever side somebody was on. And I found actually a middle ground with everyone, even people who said they were opposed entirely. I pushed back on them, suggesting that the library was a very valuable resource to a lot of the people who I was elected to serve. And is there no part of you that believes that we should be supporting the library and the infrastructure and in order to support it? And I think they came around. And likewise to the people that cut and pasted and sent us a staunch support. I challenge them as well, too, because there's a cost associated with this, and the cost is going to be paid by the taxpayers as well, too, in the long term for all of this. And I think what I found was that a lot of people didn't really understand that, and they kind of realized that there has to be a cap on this in some way. So to echo the comments where you guys all arrived at, it's probably where I would have arrived at as well, too. I think it's the responsible thing to do, and I support this initiative.
If I may, Mayor, it became abundantly clear to me that it was a polite exchange of 10-plus years of constituents of the library coming before the governing body with a need. The economics around that need has escalated over time, much like many other things. And the challenge was trying to address it in one fell swoop, which was the original framework of the ask. And while we are obviously ardent supporters of the library and the services that are provided to all the constituents, and we'd love to satisfy that need in one fell swoop, that really wasn't in the cards for the budget. And I think sometimes it just takes a little bit of courage from the governing body, as opposed to saying, which you've heard time and time again, well, see what you can do and come back to us, right? We wanted to be honest with you and have a little bit of courage and say, here's what the township can do in order to move forward, as opposed to just kicking the can down the road and hoping for a half-baked miracle, or hoping for some other variable to come before both parties here that would solve the problem, or at least materially solve the problem. So I'd like for everyone to consider this in the proper framework, which is it's a start. It's a real start. It's a discrete start to address the real problems that the library is challenged with, and to be able to continue to provide these services to the many cardholders and beneficiaries of what's being offered there. And with that, I commend the Finance Committee. I commend the other members of the committee before you, the mayor and the staff, in really trying to put together something that works, is concrete, gets things going, and can be accepted within the framework of the budget. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other citizens? Anyone online with any questions or anything? Okay. All right, I think we can close the first hearing of citizens. And we can move on to the workshop session. Mr. Shoddy, do we just go to ask if anyone had any questions on monthly reports or any? Sure. So, if I may, Mayor, just to take, well, yes, we'll start with monthly reports. I didn't receive any questions. Oh my God.
Any questions on the reports? Didn't receive any?
Can we bring up any report?
Uh,
Yeah.
Any of the reports that were included in the packet? Yeah.
On the engineering documents, particularly yesterday, construction work, I would just like to reiterate the timeline is of particular importance here, because Esternay is a field that will start being in heavy demand come this fall. And while it's 90 some odd degrees right now, it will quickly become much cooler, and schools will be back in session, and consequently recreation will be back in full force. So I would like to just make sure that just for not just aesthetics, but ongoing safety for that particular asset, that we can hopefully get that job done before school starts.
Yes.
It did say that the start date was unclear, so I'm hoping that we can achieve that before kids are out there.
Yeah, that's the plan. It's going to be done before the school year. That's why we held off until after the school year as well. Unfortunately, because we held off so late to wait for the school year, the storm hit. As you may have
Right.
noticed, Esternay is currently blocked. The trees are down. There was a tree at the front entrance over there. DPW's been busy focusing on all the other roads and more of the important access. But, you know, it's important to note that these reports are, there's a deadline for these reports, and it covers previous month's activity, not upcoming activity. So when the report was sent in, at that time, a date had not been set. We didn't even have a pre-construction meeting yet at that time. But then we did have a pre-construction meeting to follow, and we are just waiting for some shop drawings. Engineering's got to review those, and then they will be able to start. The goal is this month and should be no more than 2 weeks. So hopefully in a week or two.
So July. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Fair enough. Thank you, Mr. Shawnee.
Yes.
This isn't necessarily a question, but it's related to the assessor's reporting in general and more of a PSA for residents. So I don't know if others got their notice, but if you're like me and you weren't home when the assessor came around to evaluate your home, and you got repeated notices and just kept forgetting to call them up and telling them to come in, now's the time to follow up. And as we've explained to residents, you want to allow them to come in. I'm sorry, I should preface what I'm talking about. This is for the county's mandated townwide reevaluation. And you want to encourage them to come in, because otherwise they're going to evaluate your house at the highest value under the assumption that work was done, to bring it up to date. So you want to make sure to allow them in. And they will allow, which I've discovered when I finally did call to schedule my appointment, they will allow for a Zoom that you can, kind of take. They're really just looking to see what's updated and what's not updated. So, so you have that opportunity. So just a reminder to residents. I don't know what the cutoff is, so I did not drill down to that part of the assessor's report where he gives us the update. But I do know that the note that I got just said to get in touch with them within the next week. I mean, certainly the final evals are going to come out around late October, I think is the date. That's when everybody should, about late October, early November, everybody should get their notification around that time. So you just want to make sure if you haven't had the assessors in, to take care of that.
Okay, any other questions? Nope.
The only thing I do want to highlight, though, is just recognition and praise for our Office of Emergency Management, our Police Department, Fire Department, EMS, and Public Works for their work with the storm. This was a very heavy-hitting storm for Chatham Township. There's just a lot of coordination that needed to happen, especially with the various utility companies, a lot of road closures. We appreciate the patience from the public. DPW is canvassing the town, still canvassing the town. They are picking up debris from people's curbside. So, look out for them. But we will continue to do that through the end of the month.
Thank you. Okay, next item, the electricity auction.
Thank you, Mayor. So 2 years ago, we did a energy auction for electricity for the municipal usage for all of our buildings, parks, and facilities. That was a 2-year contract. We went out to bid about 2 years ago, around October of 2024, thereabouts. We are coming up on the expiration of that contract this fall. The consultant that I've been working with alerted us to that, and we're just making preparations for that. I believe in your packet you should have gotten a sort of snapshot of what that usage looks like, what the rates are looking like. As everybody around the state of New Jersey hears, and even nationwide, electricity costs are going up. So our costs will also be going up. We're expecting at least a $20,000 increase. However, that will be mitigated, or would be worse if we were not doing this. So in an effort to save taxpayers money, keep costs under control, and find savings wherever we can, we do this reverse auction. We do it not only for the buildings, but then separately on a different type of account for all the streetlights as well. Those are tariffed at a different rate. That contract is still not over. But I just wanted to alert you to that fact that we are looking to do that, see if there's any concerns, objections. Otherwise, we would like to run that auction coming soon in the next month or two, as we did in the past, because the rates are valid only for 24 hours. We would run that auction the morning of a township committee meeting, so that way we can then have an analysis prepared for you to review at that township committee meeting that day, and then vote to authorize that contract. I will, unless there's any issues or concerns, we can do that in August, or we can delay that until September.
The proposal that was in the package.
That's just a sampling.
Yeah. So he caveated and said these are sort of, really fictional numbers, and when the auction sort of gets into gear, the numbers are actually lower. Have we done like a look-back analysis to see what, the X's and O's were as a result of having done, participated in this reverse auction over the current contract versus if we didn't?
Well, we'd be going at the current JCP&L rate, which is higher than, it's almost always higher than these auctions. So if we did not do this, then we'd be at the current JCP&L rate, and it would be subject to increases when they make petitions to the BPU. So they recently did that. The good thing for us is we had locked this in at 2024 rates. So for at least these 2 years, we've been locked in at those rates, which are lower than the JCP&L rate.
So your $20,000 comment is based on what we...
That's based on the fact that if we were to go out to auction today, obviously the rates are gonna go up, and he's estimating based on our usage and the sample of these rates that we would be looking at almost a $20,000 increase over our current rate, not necessarily as compared to the JCP&L market rate. So we would still be less than the JCP&L market rate if we went out to auction. If we did not, or I shouldn't say we would, if we do not, then we don't sign the contract. We're not obligated to go along with any of those. We would only be doing it if there's a savings. So a lot of the factors, come into play. Obviously, oil, gas, all sort of the market conditions that would impact, what these bidders and how many bidders are we even willing to bid. So we would be able to review those, and he'll prepare an analysis as he did 2 years ago to look at how it compares to the current JCP&L rate. And he also does a bit of forecasting to look at what those rates are looking like, to say, hey, you know what? You might want to wait another 2 months. You might want to wait 3 months. Rates are going to go down. Right now is a better time than waiting for the winter.
Thank you.
Did that answer your question, Camille?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So if there's no objections, we can run that auction in August, or we can hold off until September. Any preference?
Are there any pros or cons to
No.
timing?
No, he's recommending sooner rather than later, just because, one, it gives us more time before the contract expires if we did want to go out to auction again, if we weren't happy with those rates. But, not a huge difference.
Okay, yeah, I think August should be fine.
Okay. So what we'll do is I'll be in touch with all of you that day, just to send you the results, to let you know what we're looking at and the recommendation, because I won't have anything prepared for you for the agenda packet on the Friday before. It will be the auction that morning, and or usually around noon.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor, if there's nothing else on those, I would just like to see if there's any questions or kind of comment on resolutions that are on the agenda. Since we don't have a separate workshop meeting, there are a number of items on there. Nothing should be of really any surprise or huge debate. Are there any questions on any of the resolutions? Right now, we're still technically in the workshop portion. We haven't moved in, that's why I was asking, we haven't moved into the regular.
I will jump in real quick, and I apologize I didn't send this in sooner. The River Road, is that the one? The River Road paving contract. In terms of what was budgeted, because I think,
We are higher than what was budgeted, so that was one of the items I was gonna remark
yes.
on. Yeah,
Higher-
that's
this
about
would-
$30,000 more than what was anticipated. So
Okay.
last meeting, John Rushke, our engineer, came to the meeting, and we suggested that we may wanna hold off on paving roads this year because of the high costs of asphalt, fuel, all those things are gonna create increases in costs. So what we had, based on his estimate for River Road, what we had incorporated into the capital budget fell short $30,000. We were
Okay.
planning on using some of the remainder of those funds for other roads, patching if we needed. We had some locked in for improvements at the intersection of River Road and Fairmont. Obviously not knowing what exactly is gonna, that's gonna look like. So if you wanna proceed with that, we can get this done this year. However, we are gonna be very, very tight on capital for roads if we do wanna go ahead with this.
What is Mr. Rushke deemed, as far as the condition classification for these sections of river?
For this section of river, I could pull up that memo right now. And just to note for the record that this is partially funded by grant funding as well. We've got municipal aid grant funding for this. Let me see.
In lieu of,
Yes.
like a wholesale repaving, like the classic job, right? Would we be considering a stopgap measure between now and before the frost comes in order to buy time
So
for the next cycle?
the first question was as far as how it rates. Based off his memo, and other roads, it fares in terms of its rating, it's at about a 63. What that means is not much unless I give you the whole breakdown, but other roads that we were looking at for this year are also in the 62, 63 range. So, however, the volume of traffic on that one is
Right.
significantly higher. And therefore also, because of the length of it, the budget for it is also higher than others. Under the municipal aid grants, we have, I believe, 2 years to complete those. So we're trying to expedite, originally we just try to expedite them. We get the grant, we would like to immediately move into having that completed. But as I mentioned, the big factor is with the war and everything going on right now, costs are high all around, and road paving is no different. To your second question, we would still have to draw down from our capital funds to do those improvements, which would just then reduce how much is available for the following year.
I get the math
Yeah,
on that, but
yeah.
I was just wondering if you anticipated doing that for this year, or
No,
unknown at this point?
at this point, no.
Further consultation with Mr. Rushke?
Yeah.
Okay.
He is out of the office until I believe next week, so the bids came in just before, or the same day as his out of office.
Thank you.
But- So you are looking for us to, though, approve proceeding,
Well, one of the items I wanted to bring up was raise this issue to your attention, because we did talk about it at the last meeting, and the consensus was, well, let's bid this one out first, because
Yeah.
this one would be a bid, the other one would be an award of contract under the Morris County Co-op. It doesn't need to go out to bid, however, under that co-op, the contract, and state law, they are permitted to demand adjustments for fuel and asphalt. So those rates, when they go out to bid at the county level or as any co-op, would be subject to adjustment. So this kind of gave us a barometer for what we're looking at. Are they gonna be within estimate, a little bit over estimate, or more over estimate? And so 30,000 on a cost of, what's the total? I don't have the resolution, but I can add real quick, 278. We were estimating about 431,000, and the total is, let me pull that resolution up, 460, what is it? 462. So about 31,000 on a $462,000 contract was the increase. So, and we are, you know, because of the budget year, as the finance committee knows, and all of you know from the budget presentation, we are very low on funds this year. It was a very tight year.
So, sorry, you keep saying you wanted to talk about this. Are we talking about it now, or we're gonna
No, this
revisit
is it.
later?
This is talking about it before we
Okay.
get, you know, before we get to that resolution.
So it sounds like you're recommending not doing this, but I feel like we have a grant in the hand, and we're taking care of a large chunk of,
We don't lose the grant, right? I mean,
We-
we still
so we
2
could
years. We still have the grant. We can
if
still
we do it next year?
Yeah, we have 2 years to
Okay.
do it. So, this is the first year, it was almost the first year after the award of grant. So we still have time to do this next year if we wanted to.
But the budget impact this year is 30,000.
$30,000, about $31,000, that would have to come from other capital
Projects, yeah.
funds. Yeah, other projects.
Or other places that you could find. Which otherwise, next year, we're gonna still be dealing with the same conversation if we wait till next year to pave River Road. But it'll cost more money.
It'll cost more.
It could cost more money, or if the, you know, depending on, again, fuel and what happens, there might be some relief. We had others in the road recommendation. I believe we reviewed that last month and maybe 2 or 3 months before that, about the road recommendations. We were looking at that road and 2 others, but it doesn't look like we're gonna be able to fit in those other 2, especially if we're taking an additional $31,000.
Usually the roads cost more than 31,000. So you're, so I'm.
No, so we had
That's
2
the
other roads
delta.
Yeah.
that were gonna cost more money. There was old capital funds that we were
Okay.
tapping into. We're gonna try to do 3 roads, the grant-funded road and 2 others. But given the way this went, that money is not gonna be enough to do those roads. And also because we're now taking $31,000 in funds from those to do this, we are definitely not gonna be able to do those other 2 roads.
Okay, so is this one priority relative to all three, you have 3?
This has higher traffic, so,
Okay.
you know, what you determine as priority, but in terms of rating, as far as condition, it's on par with others, but obviously this is a much higher road, higher traveled road.
Okay, I think you answered it for me. It sounds like we should go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Tiana, did you have something else to add?
Yeah, just, one note, and Greg, I can send you the, change, but the resolution, awarding a contract extension for the snow plowing services, I'm changing the language in number 2. There's not actually gonna be a contract extension that's gonna be executed, it's just, we just need the adoption of the resolution. So it's a unilateral, at the township's option. You get to choose to extend for a year, well, 2 one-year periods. So by adopting the resolution, you are, expressing your desire to extend. So we don't need to have a contract extension. The wording of it, I had it like we were gonna sign something, which we don't have to. So I'm just, revise that language and I'll send it to Greg.
Yeah, and you can still adopt the resolution tonight.
Okay. Yes.
Any other questions on resolutions?
Nope.
Okay. So, Mayor, that concludes the workshop portion.
Okay, thank you. Then we will move on to the regular meeting. Go back to my message. And it's about our other significant topic. Where do I even start? Last week's storm of July 3rd came with almost no warning and did about as much damage as Hurricane Sandy in 2012, but within a 15-minute window. Hurricane Sandy, there were, I don't know if you remember, that all the trucks staged in the parking lots waiting for it to come and waiting for it to happen. This, we did not have that. It left us with thousands of homes without power, and I've gotten the numbers. We had 2,528 customers of a total of 4,589, which is 55% of our customers in town were without power. We got through. JCP&L was overwhelmed on a holiday weekend, and many of our staff were away. And all the homes were restored as of Thursday night by, I believe, 8 o'clock, 8:30 p.m. But while there was some frustration, let me tell you about the DPW that was working right after the storm and as early as 6 a.m. on Saturday to clean up Colony Pool so that people could go there on a 100-degree day and stay cool and get something to eat. And day and night for the next week, and still picking up all the debris. If you drive around town, you'll just see it piled on people's front lawns. And the senior center, the library, and the Presbyterian Church, who offered to open as cooling and charging stations over the holiday weekend, all manned by volunteers. And our tireless fire department, who's not only responding to transformers and trees that were on fire, but also the multiple calls of carbon monoxide issues resulting from generators. And the police department, who were constantly out placing cones around dangerous areas, responding to so many calls, keeping the list of outages up to date so that we could prioritize the neighborhoods and homes for JCP&L, including some dead-end streets where residents were unable to get out. And the emergency squad, who lost power in their own headquarters, but still answered every call for our residents. There were neighbors helping neighbors, getting ice to keep necessary medications cold, or bringing food, volunteers cleaning up Colony Pool, because it was an absolute disaster, or clearing debris for their elderly neighbors and bringing them up to the curb. Our DPW opened the compost center for additional days this week, and will still be collecting the debris across town, including the county roads, but it will take it'll take a little time. So thank you to everyone who rose to the occasion, stepped in when needed, supported neighbors, and offered words of encouragement. The silver lining for me after an incredibly challenging week was that I got to meet and interact with so many neighbors that I had not met before, and it was really wonderful. So now we can move on to committee reports. I will start with mine, the Chatham Township Historical Society. So the Red Brick Schoolhouse has a beautiful new floor. It's gorgeous, and while we were moving things, we had a pod in the parking lot, and we had to move everything out so they could put the floor in. It was really pretty cool to just, pick up something to move, and then you look at what you're carrying. It was like a cool old map and other documents as we were boxing up files. I brought a few 20-somethings over there to help, and they, were equally as enthusiastic about some of the cool things that were around there. And they got to see a whole other side of the museum, which was really cool. And you can check it out on the first Sunday of every month from 2 to 4. That's it for me. Committeeman Alparworth?
Not too much to report either, other than, a staunch supporter, obviously, of our first responders and the fire department in particular, who handled, both fire departments that handled so many active emergencies, if you will, that took place in town. Obviously, a shame there was no parade for them to march in, but you didn't have to go very far to hear a siren going off in town and see a fire truck go by, because all the first responders were very busy. In talking with the chief at the Chatham Township Fire Department, he wanted to stress once again, and I think more people are paying attention to this meeting than most of our meetings, so if you're listening, any kind of emergency should not be left as a message on their general mailbox at their fire station. And that includes my alarm is going off. I don't know what this means, which happens quite a lot. So that is an active emergency. Please call 911. It will activate the 911 response. They are more than happy, and they always respond to come out and check out anything that's going on that you might even think is not an emergency, but it actually is. So please, 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 911 is your first call. For any kind of emergency. And of course, I've witnessed, and as part of the emergency squad, we support the fire department with a lot of their drills. And it's really spectacular what these women and men do, going in and training in fire buildings and putting out, extinguishing fires and dealing with so many different things. If you want to participate, they are always looking for new members, so please consider signing up. It's an amazing service that they provide. That's it.
Great, thank you. Committeeman Choi?
Mayor, I do not have anything to report this evening.
All right, thank you. Committeewoman Ewald?
I think we're all going to be echoing some of the same message, but I think it's so important because we all had different touch points during the storm, and I also want to give my thanks to many in the community. I definitely want to thank the Senior Center. They were the first to raise their hands and open their doors, and not only was it the volunteer board members who turned out, it was also the staff. And I, ran into Committeeman Alperowitz as he was trying to pull away a big tree limb from the entry, and I was moving away twigs from the entry. And, people kept turning out throughout the day to try and help and make sure everybody was taken care of. So I really want to thank them for their efforts. And again, also the Presbyterian Church and the police station and library for opening up their doors. I was at least 2 of those facilities charging up my devices. I also want to echo the thanks to the fire department and our emergency squads, both fire departments and emergency squads. I did run into one of our dedicated volunteers in Chatham Township Fire Department, and he talked about how he hadn't slept in 3 days. They had at least 30 calls the first couple of days of the storm. The vast majority of those were due to carbon monoxide alarms going off. Because the generators were placed too close to windows, doors, dryer vents, openings. And normally when people test these things, they're not tested for very long, so you wouldn't have your, carbon monoxide detector going off. So just a reminder to residents, 1, try and get that generator a good 20 feet away from any openings to your house. And 2, to make sure to have a really good carbon monoxide detector near where you have your generator. Okay, we want to keep everybody safe. And, and also just to make sure our fire department is focusing where they need to focus during these emergency events. But I really have to commend them because this is an all-volunteer group. And in the midst of them trying to deal with their own storm issues, they're out and answering residents' calls. So we do really appreciate their efforts. And then Colony, I wanted to thank the DPW, the staff, and the volunteer members. I had called right after the storm, recognizing that this was a problem. I was already texting the mayor and our administrator, and the first thing that mayor said was, we're on it, and Rich, our DPW director, was already back on his way into town. So they were, all over this, very dedicated. They were all there early, a few hours before Colony opened, and volunteer members showed up, and staff turned out to say, what can I do? I mean, just really so heartwarming, and truly appreciate everybody stepping up to do what they can to help our residents. Speaking of Colony, well, actually, before I shift to Colony, I do want to thank the mayor who had her at times. We love our administrator, and he always helps out, but he was away, and at times she was doing both jobs and having to hustle the state and hustle JCP&L and deal with all of us who were sending messages from residents. So I'm sure that was frustrating as well. She was never home. I don't know how things were being taken care of there, but she was always, around town figuring things out. And then our administrator did come back from his vacation early to help out. So really appreciate everybody stepping up and doing what they did.
Our administrator, who was also trapped from the storm and couldn't leave from his vacation. So it was just,
I didn't even realize that.
Oh yeah, he was trapped himself. So it's crazy all around.
So the news generally about Colony is great. I mean, they've had a wonderful opening to the year. I didn't get to say much in the last meeting. Unfortunately, they were down for a few days, but they're back and up and running. And I appreciate everybody who kind of hustled because of they weren't down initially, and then unfortunately, as a result of all the work that was going on and then subsequent storms, the power did go down, and that affected some of the equipment. But they really hustled to get the new equipment in place to make sure that the water, was at the level that was safe for our members to enjoy the pool, and they got that back open. They have a whole list of events that are coming up, including all kinds of, they're bringing in bands for concerts, all kinds of fun competitions, lifeguard appreciation night. So I encourage residents, and also, by the way, they were open to our senior citizens when the temperature was over 90 degrees. So I hope folks were taking advantage of that as well. But things are going great at Colony, and I hope everybody takes an opportunity, if you haven't had a chance to join or go, that you check it out. And hopefully, if you don't join this year, that you look at it again in the future, because they're really doing a wonderful job, and I've heard great things about our Y management, so I'm very pleased to hear that as well.
All right, thank you. Deputy Mayor McHugh?
Thank you, Mayor. I would, nothing really new to report from the standpoint of open space, and I'd like the focus from the standpoint of my library report to focus on the whole idea of what we're talking about all evening and the resolution that will come up shortly here this evening that we look to consider and approve. But I would like to take a minute to echo a lot of what happened this week and a lot of what's been stated before, certainly between EMS, between the fire guys, between the police, the emergency response team, the administrator coming back early, you know, all the first responders and all the community that really did come together in a real, true community, which is terrific. But I would like to shout out something that I don't do often, but want to this evening, and that has to do with our mayor. Thank you, Mayor, for stepping up. You really did, and I witnessed some really great and I shouldn't say pushy, but aggressive pursuits of not just JCP&L, who she met with and chased down and expedited for anyone who was stuck in a dead end, or somebody who was having issues getting JCP&L to show up to remove a wire from a tree so the tree could be removed and all those things, but even to the level of meeting with the governor herself and getting the direction and the input. And so I thank you for that because as we have a lot of great volunteers in our fire service, our emergency squad, and all those things, we have a great volunteer mayor too. And so I just want the residents to recognize that, so thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right. That's it for the Township Committee reports, so we can move on to the approval of the consent agenda. I think we discussed everything, but is just to make sure, is there anything that anyone would like to pull out or discuss further?
I think we need to pull out 140.
No, I'm thinking, no.
No, I
So.
think we discussed it.
All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make the motion, but just making sure everybody's paying attention, the resolution for the library is part of the consent agenda.
Yes.
But it was discussed earlier, which
Correct.
pretty much everybody was here for that
So I
discussion.
make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Mr. Alperowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Choi?
Yes.
Mrs. Ewald?
Yes,
Deputy Mayor McHugh?
Yes.
And Mayor Rowland?
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. We will now open the second hearing of citizens for tonight, and the same guidance that was previously given by Mr. LeConte applies. Are there any new questions online or hands raised?
I do not see any hands raised online.
Okay. Any members of the audience?
Thank you. On behalf of the library, we appreciate Andy Hollander, Hollander, Fairmount Avenue. Just wanted to express our gratitude. I know I'm speaking for Karen Brodsky, director of the library, who's here. Christina and everyone else can speak for themselves, but we've appreciated the partnership that we've developed with the committee. And thank you for expressing your confidence in the library. We look forward to continuing to work with you to make this library a special place in our community.
Thank you.
Not needed to make, it is to retain. And, you know, we all have come a demanding between, you know, the wants and needs, and you've been very careful and diligent about that. But then there's the want and have, and we're giving you what we have.
Christina Mott, M-O-T-T, Nicholson Drive, Chatham Township. I just wanted to thank all of you for your strong support for the library. I know that this wasn't an easy number to reach, and I appreciate all of you taking it very seriously and showing that support, and I really appreciated all your comments earlier tonight. In addition, I just wanted to comment on something that Mrs. Ewald mentioned about the tax assessor. I didn't have any, door hangers or anything saying that somebody had been to my house. I just got a letter saying, call us in 7 days. So I just wanted to make you aware that there might be some residents who are on vacation for maybe more than 7 days, and hopefully there's going to be some leeway in that process as people, open their mail and see these notices. But thank you again.
Yeah, if I may, I informed our administrator the same experience with me. I received no knowledge whatsoever until the letter came, and it felt like a fire drill for me to have to call. So we expressed that, and when I called, I told them I don't know if I'm an anomaly, but hey, I kind of was part of the process of approving this. So I think they've been informed as well too. So.
Craig, you are no anomaly. You're coming to my house tomorrow.
Some might beg to differ on that.
All right. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? Nope. Okay, we can close the second hearing of citizens. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate everyone coming out.